MMA Oddsbreaker. Today on the phone we have Tarec Saffiedine getting ready to fight Rory MacDonald come up here on UFC Fight Night. When they announced this fight, I got goosebumps over this one. This one is a great fight. It's a great match-made fight. When they called you, was this one of those fights you were like, yes, I can't wait to fight this guy? Or was it, give me a second, let me figure out, if this is the best shot for me right now?
Yeah, man. It's funny because I was looking to. I was asking for that fight. I asked to fight Rory MacDonald after he fought Tyron Woodley, and it's funny you talk about goosebumps because that's how I felt when I watched their fight. I had goosebumps because watching the fight and watching the way he fight and his overall game. I knew I can beat him. So it was. I was really really excited when I got the call, and I went straight to the gym and joined my butt up since then.
We always talk about who's number one, who's number two, who's number five. Like the rankings in MMA seem to be very important to the fans for some reason. I guess it's their way of just being able to acknowledge who's better and who's worse. But to me, it's always been about the matchup. You can have a guy that's ranked 50th, but he just matches up well against the number one guy, and so when that fight happens, the number one guy is going to go down. This fight is extremely well. It's extremely well match made. This is one of the times where you look at Joe Silva and you realize how much of a genius he really is putting this fight together. Because all of you guys are true mixed martial artists. Both you guys are well rounded from top to bottom, but you have two significantly different styles of striking on your feet, and that's the major factor in this fight. Is how is this fight kind of break down? How do you see this fight breaking down?
I couldn't agree more on what you said. I think it's going to be a battle of who can impose his will in his game. Because, like you said, we are both well-rounded fighter. We can go anywhere in the fight. But I think it's going to be a strategic fight, but sometimes it's going to be exciting. We both, even though I took out some criticism that we don't finish fight or whatever, but we put on an exciting fight at the same time. And I think it's going to be a distance type of matchup. And like you said, we don't have the same style on our feet, and that's going to be interesting to see who can impose his stand-up technique and in his will on the stand-up, and then we'll see how the fight goes. That's going to be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to impose my will and impose my game plan.
Now, of course, everyone's going to look at the fact that you and Rory have a common opponent in Tyron Woodley, but you fought Tyron back in 2011. I mean, that's a totally different Tyron Woodley. The Tyron Woodley that beat you in 2011 versus the Tyron Woodley that lost to Rory MacDonald in 2014. Do you see a huge difference in that Tyron Woodley? Did Tyron advance and improve so much during those 3 years?
Yeah, Tyron improved a lot, as a fighter. I guess we all improved. I improved myself as well. I'm a different fighter than when I fought him. But it's kind of hard to kind of judge the fight by who Rory fought, and because Tyron fought Nate Marquardt. Nate Marquardt beat Tyron. I lost against Tyron, but I beat Nate Marquardt. So one matchup doesn't really mean a lot about other matchups. So I didn't really look at the way Rory beat Tyron. The more about the way Rory fought, the way he fights, the way he uses distance, the way he throws kicks, punches, the way he set up his takedowns, the way he uses ground and pound, the way he posture up, everything. I analyze each and every of his movements, and I'm like, man, I know how to beat that guy, and that's why I asked for that fight.
Does the Tarec Saffiedine of 2014 beat the Tyron Woodley of 2014?
Yeah, for sure. Why not? I'm confident in my skill in my training and the way I improved for the past 3-4 years since I fought against him. When I fought him, I didn't fight the way I should have fought. I kind of fell into his game plan, I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned from that. So today we did a totally different fight.
So now let's break down Rory MacDonald. You said that striking's the difference, but I want to take a couple different pieces. Wrestling for MMA, not a pure wrestling standpoint. Not staying out there trying to wrestle Dan Henderson in the Olympics, but you're in there trying to wrestle. It becomes a wrestling match, a grinding match between you and Rory. But it's MMA wrestling, so you're able to throw punches and knees and kicks and the whole bit. Who wins the wrestling portion of this fight?
Me. Me. Wherever the fight goes, I'm ready. I train with a Division I wrestler, Olympic wrestler. Every day at the gym, and those guys, they have a hard time taking me down, and I'm doing pretty good on the offense as well. A lot of people, I've been improving a lot on my defense wrestling side, but also it's been improving a lot on my offensive. So our wrestling is getting better and better and better, and especially for the MMA. For this fight, I'll be ready in wrestling part for sure.
Where do you think Rory is the strongest in the fight game?
I think he has really good transition and a pretty decent top game when it comes to the ground game. So he has good transition as far as striking to wrestling. And so I had to pay really attention to that in my camp. And but I think that those are his strong points.
And I know this one is tough, but where do you think Rory's the weakest?
I think I cannot say much because, but I think he's the weakest. Or would I say that without revealing too much?
Well, I will say this: that this interview will be edited and it won't be put up until the week of the fight. So he's only going to have like 2 or 3 days, maybe, to hear it and adjust anything that you would say. So unless if it's a technique that he's got to spend some time improving on, he won't even know that you said it until fight day.
I guess the for me, when I look at him and the way when he fights and when he's really comfortable, that's when he kind of puts his own pace and he puts the pressure on the guys. He likes to be in the center of the cage and have the guy against the cage, and he doesn't like to be him going backward. Doesn't like that. You can see that he tries to shoot right away, try to take the people down, or he doesn't counter much. His footwork is not he's kind of flat-footed a little bit.
Yep.
So that's where I see his weakness.
And that's actually the same place I see his weakness too. The reason why that Tyron Woodley couldn't get into the fight is that he would jump in, jump out, and put himself against the cage and allow Rory MacDonald to do what he wanted when he wanted. And then whenever Tyron got off, like he'd get off in the second, he got off in the third, and kind of pushed the pace in the very beginning, that Rory was kind of flat-footed and was caught, just like you said. He was kind of caught going backwards. He didn't do very well. Tyron gave him that breath, gave him that one, let's reset. And when he did that, Rory started coming forward again, and it just put Tyron back against the cage. So I completely agree with you.
The thing about... Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I said all I was saying is I completely agree with you.
Yeah, no, it's funny because Tyron kind of likes to be against the cage, kind of like in between that distance between the middle of the cage, the middle of the ring and the cage. He likes to be in that distance, that zone, and he couldn't really, do anything against Rory. Rory was, doing a good job keeping his distance, keeping the pressure at the same time. So he kind of Tyron caught him in his own game. So you cannot let him do that. You cannot fight the Rory's fight. You have to fight your own fight, fight your pace, fight your distance, and I think that's where you can win the fight.
That's Tarec Saffiedine. He's getting ready to fight Rory MacDonald here on UFC Fight Night, October 4th in the Halifax Metro Centre. Have you been to Nova Scotia before, in Nova Scotia, Canada?
I'm sorry, again?
Have you been to Nova Scotia, Canada before, where the fight's going to be? Have you been up there before?
No, it's going to be actually my very first time. I mean, I went there for the promotion of the fight, but I didn't go. I never went there before.
It's a nice. I've only been there once. I was very young when I went. It's a really nice town. I mean, a really nice city. It's quaint almost from the standpoint. Did you get a sense there was a real knowledge of fight and that the fight fans are MMA hungry when you went up there?
You know, like you said, it's a really small town, so I went there like maybe less than 24 hours, so I didn't have the chance to really see a lot of people, a lot of fans. But I heard they really like, enjoy the fight game, and you know, obviously Canadian, they like you know, the fight, the fight game. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of fight fans over there.
Well, obviously, this fight's in Canada. That's going to make Rory the favorite. He won't necessarily be the hometown hero, but he's going to be the local hero. Is that going to be a problem for you going up there and having to beat him up in basically in his own country?
Oh no, man, I have no problem with that. For the past 6 years, that's all I've been doing is fighting in other people's towns or other people's country. I've never been. The last time I fought in my hometown, it was in 2007. So I'm really getting used to fight in other people's my opponent's turf. So I have no problem with that.
Have you been pushing the UFC to try to get more fights closer to home, closer to Belgium for you, so that you could actually fight closer to home?
That would be awesome. Yeah. That would be awesome to fight back. You know, not even in Belgium. Hopefully in Belgium. That would love to bring UFC in Belgium, even though you know there's a lot of politics with. You know, it's kind of complicated, but I would love to bring UFC to Belgium. It's definitely one of my dreams, one of my goals. But you know, fighting in Europe, in general, wherever in Europe, that would be already a great step for me. I would love to fight close to home, definitely.
How far away is Germany from where you are?
Belgium, it's like maybe 2-3 hours drive.
Is Germany really the closest? Is Germany to where from your hometown? What's the closest country that we UFC throws fights in? Is it Germany, or is it are you from the other side?
You know, we're surrounded by Belgium, so they're surrounded by Holland on top.
Yep.
France, south, east, Germany, and then across the sea, like an hour on train, is England, London. Okay. So you pick wherever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. France is still illegal. It hasn't, you can't use the UFC. Hasn't gone to France yet. Germany's been back and forth. So I guess my general question is Germany closer for you, or is London closer for you, for your friends and family to come watch you fight?
I guess London would be closer by train. Yeah, London.
That's unfortunate that you have to go. That still, even we talk about other fighters coming out of France. I was just in Manchester, England, covering another event, and it was there's a lot of French guys on the card, and everyone has to come over from France. They have to take the train over, under the channel to watch their brothers and their sons fight, because it's illegal still in France, and it's tough because we're battling the New York battle, obviously, here in the States. We want to get it legalized in New York. It's the only state left that isn't legalized. At the same time, the UFC is also trying to get legalized in all the countries in Europe. It's a little frustrating for me to have great fighters come out of France, come out of Belgium, and come out of Germany. And Germany's back and forth, whether or not they're going to hold the events. And then have it still be illegal in Belgium, still be illegal in France. It's kind of frustrating for me as a fan, because I want to see more Europeans make the jump into MMA. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's like you said, there are a lot of great fighters, in France, even in Holland, in Germany, in Belgium too. It's growing because they have such a good stand-up background. The wrestling is not quite there, but it's learning more. Jiu-jitsu is there, so it's the MMA fighter are growing more and more. And the sad thing, for example, for the French guys, they have to travel all around the world to get fights, and it's fortunately it's like, not really good quality fights. They have to take last minute fights, or take a really high level opponent on last minute call and stuff like that to get their name out there. And it's not easy for them. And I hope the MMA gets legalized, especially in France. So they can make a little bit of more money, and the UFC can hopefully come one day.
And I know you're not French, and don't mistake me for thinking that you are. Obviously you're Belgian, or you're Flemish, excuse me. That it's. I still think the UFC would benefit if they would use you more in the international political game of trying to make things get legalized, because you are a great family man. You know, you take care of your kids, take care of your wife. You moved to America specifically to become a better fighter. You didn't move to a big city. You didn't move to LA. You didn't move to New York. You moved to in the Inland Empire in the middle of, Temecula is the middle of nowhere essentially compared to the rest of the world. But you did it, and you're making it happen. You're making it work, and I think that that your story of, look, I had to leave my home country just to go become better at my craft would resonate with the French people and the French political government if the UFC would use you more. I've always said that about you. I've always said they do a better job. It would do them a better job by having you be one of the guys, that they kind of leaned on to, hey, help us get this thing going off over in France. So anyway, that's my soapbox. That's my speech. So,
I appreciate it.
All right, Tarek, I've taken too much of your time. I promised you 10 minutes. We've already gone over 15. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Enjoy your practice today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck against Rory. I do want to do something with you, though, after your Rory fight. I want to talk. I want to interview you again after the Rory fight and sit down and talk about what your game plan was, how did it work, and what the result of the fight was. No matter win, lose, draw, doesn't make a difference. I still want to sit down and talk to you about how the fight went from your eyes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. For sure. I'll be there.
Perfect. I appreciate it, bud. We'll talk to you later, man. Have a good day.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Have a good day, too.
Ask Sherwin-Williams.